Okay, today we're going to be looking at 7 signs that your ex is not over you. And if you stick around until the end of this video, not only am I going to be going in depth in each one of these signs, but I'm going to be talking about how you can apply them to your specific circumstance so that you can understand or really determine if your ex is over you or not. But before we continue, the first thing you should do is probably hit that subscribe button that you see below and click the bell notification so that you can get updated whenever I come out with some of the latest videos on ex recovery. Also, be sure to give us a comment or a like on our videos to help us out with the YouTube algorithm. Okay, let's get started. So one of the biggest flaws with doing a video like this is everything has been done before, either by me, because I've done lots of videos on signs that your ex is still in love with you, signs that your ex is pretending to be over you and things of that nature, or there's my peers who also do a lot of videos like this. So my goal whenever I do a video like this is to always show you something new, something you've never heard about before, and that's what I've decided to do here. Many of the signs that I'm about to show you today are new, meaning I've never talked about them before on this YouTube channel. So with that kind of build up out of the way, let's start. Sign number 1. They subtly fish around to see if you're dating someone new. So this sign is just like it sounds. You and your ex are having a conversation. You make a statement like, oh yeah, I saw that movie. I went to the movie with a friend. And then your ex gets a little jealous or tries to fish around to see what gender that friend was. Oh yeah, who's your friend? Or was it a guy? Or were you on a date? Things like this is an indication that they're not exactly comfortable with you going out on a date with someone new or replacing them. Now, what's interesting about this is a lot of women or even men who find themselves in a circumstance where their ex shows a little bit of jealousy about them potentially moving on, operates under the assumption that the ex is going to beg for them back or ask for them back, but we've actually seen that's not the case. It's more of a situation where they want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to move on, but they don't want you to move on. And of course, the double standard occurs when you end up moving on. They don't like that fact and almost make you into the bad guy, because oftentimes we find exes always paint themselves as victims because they're the hero of their own story. Sign number 2. Your ex has moved on to someone new, but they can't stop talking to you. And here is the basis of the being there method. The first time we ever heard about the being there method, it was always a situation like this, where you would be talking to an ex, just very, very friendly, kind of keeping the lines of communication open, but they've already moved on to someone else. Now, generally speaking, if an ex has moved on to someone else, if they're happy with that person, they're not going to have any interest in responding to you or giving you the time of day. And in some rare cases, we find exes will actually block you because they're so afraid of you throwing a wrench in with the new girl or the new guy. But the opposite is also true. Studies have found that if an ex is with someone new, but they continually spend a lot of time talking to you, it is an indicator that they are unsatisfied with that current relationship. All in all, they're comparing probably the high points of your relationship to the high points of this new relationship, and they found the new person wanting. They decide, I'm gonna check and see what my ex is up to. And then of course things develop from there. All in all, it's a great sign that your ex is not over you. Sign number 3, your ex puts off the item exchange. Now this is something that I've talked a lot about before when it comes to videos like this. In relationships, we accumulate certain items or things from our significant other. Sometimes they are small things, sometimes they are large things. And generally speaking, breakup protocol dictates that you and your ex meet up after the breakup to exchange your items. Usually it's you trying to get something back from them or them trying to get something back from you. But what happens if your ex agrees to the item exchange but always ends up canceling at the last minute or putting off to another week and another week and another week? What is going on there? Well, simply put, the reason they're canceling this item exchange is so they don't have to confront a reality where they've lost you forever. Now, it's kind of petty to hold on to an item and say, well, I'm going to hold this hostage until you talk to me, or I'm going to hold this hostage until you act the way I want you to act. But that is an indicator that they are still very much invested into the relationship, whether they will admit it to themselves or not. And more often is the case, they're not admitting it to themselves. Real quick, I want to say that if you're new to this YouTube channel or you're trying to figure out what you should be doing to get your ex back and you're trying to learn if you even have a chance in your specific circumstance, probably the smartest thing for you to do is actually stop by our website, www.exboyfriendrecovery.com, or take our Ex Recovery Chances quiz that can be found at exboyfriendrecovery.com. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, taking that free quiz is super easy to do. All you have to simply do is look in the description link below this YouTube video and click on the link you see there. It will take you directly to the quiz where you can fill it out and get an easy answer on what you should be doing going forward and overall what your chances look like in your specific situation. All right, so let's get you back to the video. Sign number 4. They slip up and call you by a pet name. Now, I actually just talked about this in one of my previous videos. I think it was like the signs that your ex still wants you back. Well, obviously a sign that your ex is still not over you or still thinking about you is they're falling back into old habits. Now, we often call each other by our cute pet names when we are in relationships. Some of us call each other babe or honey or lovey or whatever the case is. You each have your own pet names, and I don't think I've ever met a relationship or ever been encountered into a relationship that didn't use some form of a pet name. I'm sure they exist out there where it's almost like very business-like, but more often than not, it's not, right? And so if your ex is talking to you and maybe you're 5 months after the breakup and it seems like they've moved on completely, but they continually call you hun or honey or babe, which is a really common one, it's an indicator that they are still holding subconsciously a little bit onto the relationship. And also they kind of know what they're doing. They know they still probably have feelings for you and are using that pet name to feel you out and see if you're going to respond positively to that kind of affection. Sign number 5, they are way too obvious about moving on. All right, this is actually a really funny one because you'll notice there's a definite difference between people who don't try and naturally move on and people who try really hard to make it look like they're moving on when in reality, they're not. They're still stuck in the same obsessive mindset as before. Now, you'll often see an ex do this where they're trying to overly make you jealous. And I often talk about this concept of winning the breakup. And exes do believe that if they win the breakup, it's almost like, I'm going to get the better end of this. I think the grass is greener on the other side, and I'm going to prove to you the grass is greener on the other side, even when it's not. Sign number 6. How responsive they are after no contact is an indicator that they aren't over you. Okay, so the no contact rule is the most popular sort of strategy out there when it comes to ex recovery or even trying to get over an ex. The no contact rule is basically this period of time where you're ignoring your ex, usually anywhere between 21 to 45 days. Now, our research into the no contact rule suggests that you should not be using the no contact rule to make your ex miss you. Instead, you should be using that time to outgrow your ex so that when you do end up talking to them again, they see this new version of yourself that's almost like better. And in reality, it's the same old you. You've just kind of gained all the leverage back. But what's interesting is we have looked at our success stories and found that exes who are extremely responsive after no contact generally tend to be very, very close to wanting to get back together with you. In other words, they're not over you. Now contrast that with exes who aren't very responsive after the no contact rule. Exes who aren't very responsive after the no contact rule aren't necessarily not over you. They're just holding a bit of a grudge by the fact that you may have ignored them and they don't like that fact. Now, we have come up with ways to sort of dispel that narrative that they're having in their head about you ignoring them and handling that situation, but I'm going to leave that for another video. The important thing that you need to know is if your ex is super responsive very consistently after a no contact rule, it's an indicator, 1, that the no contact rule worked really, really well, and 2, they're not over you yet. Finally, sign number 7. They've stopped going out, seeing friends, and their social media habits have changed. There's this famous meme online, or at least 10 years ago there used to be, where it's kind of like how men handle breakups versus how women handle breakups. And it's kind of like the exact opposite from the beginning and the end. So men often handle breakups by going, yes, I'm out of there. I'm gonna go date a million people. I'm gonna go party. I'm gonna have fun. And women handle breakups right afterwards. Very sad, depressed, eating ice cream, but slowly but surely, the shoe kind of hits on the other foot. The ex-boyfriend eventually gets super depressed and wants the ex back after they realize the grass wasn't greener on the other side, and the women kind of don't want their exes back anymore. Now, what's interesting is there's always a little bit of truth to every joke, and there's definitely some truth in that meme. Here's what you need to know. If your ex is changing their social media habits, meaning all of a sudden they stop posting completely, all of a sudden they go dark, they become very inward with their feelings. You know, the sphere of influence, the friends are saying, hey, he's not coming out or she's not coming out. They're really stuck inside. They're really sad. Can you just talk to her? Can you just talk to him? Make him feel better. First off, don't, especially if you're in the middle of the no contact rule. But it's also a good indicator that they're taking the breakup a little bit more personally than they may have let on to begin with. And ultimately, I think it does kind of harken back to that meme. They thought when they maybe broke up with you that it was going to be this great thing until reality hit and they realized, oh, this really, really sucks. Now, I would be lying to you if I said that there were only 7 signs that your ex was not over you. The reality is there's probably hundreds of signs, but we don't have enough time for hundreds of signs. So here's my first recommendation to you. If you're sitting there determining whether or not you want to get your ex back, probably the smartest thing that you can do right now is to stop what you're doing and take the ex recovery chances quiz that I talked about towards the middle of this video. Now, taking the quiz is very simple. It's free, it should only take you 2 minutes, and all you gotta do is simply look in the description link below this YouTube video and click the blue link you see there. Also, if you haven't liked, commented, or subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so. Every little bit helps. I'll see you next time.